Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerdgasm. I am your host, Caleb Coho, and we are back in the first round of this sort of mini Nerdgasm tournament, non-tournament that we're doing. And we have quite the battle of baiters here. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw it over to my co-hosts and my co-judges for tonight, TV champion and future Fandom team champion, Jim the Wolf Green. How are you?
This pizza's good.
That's very good.
I'm not wearing the same shirt that we just recorded a match in or anything, so we're definitely not recording these for one right after the other. So I'm definitely looking forward to this first match that I am seeing today.
Awesome. And now everyone who is watching this at home, try and guess which match we shot before this. Going over to Tim Smith, the commissioner of all things multiplex. How are you?
Welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyways? That's right, the show where the points don't matter. Just like Nico's win streak.
Oh! Got him! All right. And today we have Take Three's very own Malcom coming in to face the NWA, not the rap group, but the Neighborhood Watch Alliance's very own Richard Schwartz. And this is going to be a fun one. But Nerdgasm is, if you're new to Nerdgasm, this is how it works. We have 3 rounds of prepared debate where the competitors have been given the questions ahead of time and have given me their answers to debate. Once we get through those, we then have a speed round. How this works is we get to the first 1 to 5 points overall in the entire match. We go as many times as we need. It's basically a best of 9, which makes it a lot harder on myself. But we do it for you. So, with that, are you guys ready to get into the first round of prepared debate?
Let's do it.
All right. Round 1 of the first 3 rounds of the prepared debates are going to work like this. We're going to give you 1 minute for your opening argument, 5 minutes in between the two of you to go at it, and 1 minute for your closing statements. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, gentlemen, then let's get right into it. Your first question here in our first round of prepared debate is, who is the best MCU hero? And I'm going to start with Malcom. You have 1 minute for your opening argument.
Well, the best MCU hero by far is the God of Asgard, Thor. He's not only a very strong and powerful hero, but like the way he's portrayed in the MCU is he's played by Chris Hemsworth, who brings out the whole the essence of Thor, so to speak, because he's got the humor, he's got the naiveness from being a god, not really knowing a lot about Earth and all that, and he's sort of brings out some great interactions when it comes up with when he encounters various characters. But yeah, he's one of those greatest MCU heroes, and he's had so many good appearances on the screen.
All right, and Richard, 1 minute for your opening argument when you start.
The best MCU character is the man of the people. The people for me and you, the hero from World War II. It is Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America. This man is not only have the best movies, he is also the best character. He also has one of the very memorable moments throughout the MCU. He is a man of the people. He does whatever he does for the people, and I will continue on once we battle it out.
All right. 5 minutes for you two when you start talking. Whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the problem with Captain America is, like, while he is a great hero, in his last movie, he wasn't the star of his own movie. It was pretty much an Avengers 2.5. They put in so many heroes in there that he didn't even shine out as the best moment of his own movie. with Thor, he's in all of his movies, even for the Dark World, which is not one of his better movies, but he still stood out from the movies as being really great. And
Okay, I'm going to argue that real quick. You saying that he was not the star of Civil War? He was absolutely the star of Civil War. Yes, there were other superhero characters, but I will remind you that Thor was not even the star of his own movie in all three of his movies. Thor Ragnarok, the Hulk was the star. Loki has been the star for all three movies. Thor 2 was very forgettable, and Thor's best lines only happens when he's around Loki and Hulk. He doesn't get the best lines. Hulk got the best lines. Loki got the best lines. Kat Dennings got the best lines. When it comes to Captain America, his lines were memorable. He got a one-word language, which became very popular in the Avengers movies, and he has way more memorable moments, like language and the reference in Avengers. Oh, I got that. And I'll let you continue to rebut.
Yeah, I mean, you say that Thor doesn't get great lines. I mean, he's gotten a whole lot of good lines, like Infinity War. Like his Sweet Rabbit lines when he talks to Rocket is a great line. I mean, he may not need the great lines. And I mean, the thing with Captain America is he's become, with his whole language thing, it's made him become sort of a walking catchphrase. Because
the thing about why Captain America is better than Thor is because Captain America was always Captain America, even before he got his powers. He never changed. He was always good, a good-hearted person. The only reason Thor is the hero he is today is because his father banished him. If it wasn't for that, he would still be the obnoxious person who covets war, and probably would not be friends with Earth. They would probably be in war with Asgard right about now. And as for you saying Thor, like I said, Thor's only good with the side characters make the Thor movies. Thor 2 is very forgettable. All three Captain America movies were fantastic. I mean, that's all you gotta say. He's Captain America. I'll let you keep going.
Well, yes, for the Dark World was forgettable. For Ragnarok and the first Thor movie, they're both great movies. They were so by far not forgettable.
Thor 1 was just okay. Thor 3 was the better Thor movie. All three Captain America movies stand on its own. Winter Soldier is considered still probably one of the best MCU movies of all time. Civil War was amazing. Yes, it was kind of Avengers 2.5, but it was still a Captain America movie. The main focus was Captain America trying to not only save his friend, but to stop the other so-called assassins. And we had the better villains. Loki's your only good Thor villain. Helena was okay, but Red Skull, which is a very underrated villain in the MCU, was very good by Hugo Weaving. Winter Soldier had a great villain in Crossbones and the person in Hydra. And you also had Baron Zemo, which was a lot of people, it's an underrated villain. It was a strategic villain, which played out really well.
You're talking about the villains. Captain America's villains can be forgivable. Yes, Red Skull is great, but they had to recast him for Infinity War because Hugo Weaving didn't want to return to play him. Winter Soldier was decent, but he wasn't great.
Natalie Portman also didn't come back because she didn't want to play him after the third one. Kat Dennings didn't want to come back.
Well, I mean, it makes sense why they didn't come back because they were barely on Earth in Ragnarok anyway, so it would have made any sense for them to be in that movie. But and you talk about Zemo, he's a very forgettable villain. Like, he didn't really stand out in Civil War. Like, he was most of his plan just happened on them being in the right place at the right time for it to work. It wasn't that thought out of a plan.
I will also point out that the only reason Thor is as strong as he is because with his hammer and axe. And also I'd like to mention that in the first Avengers movie, Captain America took a full-blown hit with his shield against Thor's hammer and didn't even leave a dent. And I can still believe that even his axe will not leave a dent on the shield. His shield is one of the most unbreakable things. And he went toe-to-toe against Thanos. Sure, he lost, but he did a better fight than Thor did without a little axe thing.
All right, time. All right. So we'll get into our closing statements. When we get into them, I'm hearing a lot about like the villains and the other elements of the hero. I'm going to ask you to sell me on why your hero is the better hero. And with that, I'm going to start with Malcolm. You have 1 minute for your closing.
Thor is a better hero than Captain America because, like, his powers are natural. They're not generated by a serum. Well, yes, a lot of his power, like his hammer, controls his powers in there, but Thor Ragnarok proved he doesn't need his hammer to be able to use his lightning powers because he didn't have his powers in that final battle, and he came close to defeating Hela. Captain America, take away his shield, give him a serum that somehow takes away his thing. He is nothing. He's nothing without his shield, and yeah.
All right, time. And Richard, 1 minute for your closing.
Captain America is the best MCU character because, unlike Thor, Captain America, Steve Rogers is Captain America. He always had the good heart. Thor was only as good a hero because of his father's banishment. You say you take away the shield, he has the military experience. He has his superpowers. You take away Thor's hammer, you just have a sort of witty guy once in a while. Like Thor was not very bland in Thor 1 and Thor 2. He got humor in Ragnarok. But Captain America has the military experience. He has the heart. He has the friends. He has the backup. All of Thor's friends are dead. Maybe he has the talking tree. That's about it, like with Groot. But like, Steve will never give up. He never does. And like he quotes in his movies, he can do it all day.
All right, time. I'm going to go ahead and start first on this one. Richard said he did the Dominic Rizzi thing where he said a lot, but I don't think a lot of it actually helped his argument. I think the biggest thing that he said was that that Cap never changed. He always had the good heart, and that Thor got better. Like, he started out as a jerk and then became a hero. And I think that kind of might have hurt him a little bit. I also think Malcolm damaged him a bit when he threw back the he doesn't need the hammer. You take away Cap's shield and serum, he's not really anything. I think that was a good hit. So I'm going to give my point slightly to Malcolm. Go ahead and go over to Jim.
I am going to say that I agree with Richard because you say Richard's point of you're saying that if you take away the shield and the serum, Steve Rogers was still a good man. And, as Stanley Tucci so eloquently said is, no matter what happens tomorrow, stay who you are, not just a soldier, but a good man. So at his core, Steve Rogers is what a hero should be. So I'm going to go with Richard.
All right, so it comes down to Tim for the tiebreaker.
Both of them starting out, both hammered on the villains and certain story arcs with the movies, not really hitting on why they're that good hero. And then we got towards the end of their closing statements with one, which hurt Richard kind of a little bit when he said, yeah, you take away the serum and the shield, he's still a good man. But Thor only became a good man because his father banishing him, teaching him a lesson which he needed, and that made him as well a good hero and a good man. But Malcolm really wasn't able to capitalize too much on against Captain America to really focus with Thor. So, I mean, on arguments points, I would have to go with Richard for the point value for the argument in the essence of the question of argument. So,
all right. So at the end of round number 1, Richard is up 1-0 over Malcolm, getting the point on that one. The second question here in our prepared rounds is thus: which DC hero who hasn't already gotten a movie should get one. And so I'm going to start with Richard for your opening argument. You have 1 minute to start.
Now, my choice for who deserves his own DC movie is Booster Gold, Michael John Carter. He is a man from the future who travels to the present, to our present day, to bring his future tech, future gear, future fame to the present day world. Why I believe he deserves a movie is because he is not a very known DC movie. And that's the one thing MCU has done really well, is bringing some unknown characters into thrive, like Guardians, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. This will be a great opportunity for Booster Gold to have his own movie, because especially right now in the world of DC, where we're having possible recasting, that can be easily changed with Booster Gold messing up the timeline. I'll start.
All right. We'll go to Malcolm. 1 minute for your opening when you start.
Yeah, and thinking about this, I was thinking about this really hard, and I was thinking, well, hang on, there's been a few movies that have been announced that really have been pushed back or have had people leave, and one of them is The Flash. I mean, The Flash deserves his own movie. Like, he's one that, well, yes, he's been announced getting his own movie, but hasn't officially got his own movie yet. It hasn't gone into production. They've been pushing it back and all over. The Flash is probably one of the best characters behind Superman and Batman, and he deserves his own movie by far. I mean, the DCU can't take a risk on unknown properties at the moment. They've kind of been floundering so much. They need a big hit to send their stock upwards again.
All right, time. All right, so The Flash versus Booster Gold, 5 minutes. We'll let Malcolm continue going into the 5 minute time.
So, go on, Malcolm.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, I don't know if Flash deserves. It's more like it's expected he's going to get his movie. Like, it's confirmed he's going to get a movie. It's going to be the next one after Wonder Woman. However, just because, like, the problem with Ezra Miller's Flash is no one's happy about Ezra Miller being the Flash. What we see in the Justice League, Batman v Superman, is just Ezra Miller playing Ezra Miller. And right now, one of the most anticipated movies coming out next year is Shazam. That has more positive reactions than even currently Aquaman, because of not only the humor, but it's not the core like 5 superheroes you've already seen already. It's brand new superhero. Booster Gold can bring the humor, can bring the reasons why we're going to have recasting. Like Michael, Superman might get recasted, Batman might get recasted, and Booster Gold for the humor can easily, with the time ship, change like one event that could, make a legitimate, like, severe cast change.
Yes, but the thing is, the Flash can do that just as well, because they can utilize the Flashpoint storyline, which granted may not be the best way to open it out on. And the thing is, you talk about Ezra Miller's Flash, there's been multiple different incarnations to Flash. You could actually get Wally West as version of the Flash, because he has been known as just the Flash once before in the comics, as opposed to Kid Flash. But so I mean, you can get a different person in the suit. It doesn't have to be Ezra Miller. Like the CW TV shows has shown that the Flash is still really popular. So I mean,
well, see, and that's also the point against you, is the Flash is so popular that they're not, if it's not Grant Gustin, it's not going to like get a positive reaction. Like, your villain's going to have to be the Reverse Flash, someone well known, and DC has not been good with casting. And if you badly cast a main villain of the Flash, it's going to probably tear down even more the DC. Whereas Booster Gold, you have villains you don't really know too well, like you have Brother Eye, OMAC. Like, these are people you can cast, like, not unknown. Like, they're not that well known, so it won't be too much of a afraid. And it's a huge boost. It's a huge, like, taking a risk in a good way. That's the one thing that DC needs, is a risk, a positive change, and that's what they're doing with Shazam. And it's paying out 10 times fold. And Flash can only go back in time on Earth. Booster Gold has an actual time ship. So, like, the recasting of Superman can happen on Krypton. Booster Gold's the only one who can really do it out of the two we're comparing to.
Yes, but, I mean, talking about casting, they could badly cast Booster Gold, and you can get people up in arms about that as well. I mean, if you take a risk on an unknown, you have to make sure that the casting is good enough to want to make people to go to that movie. I mean, the Flash as a character alone can get people flocking to the movies to go, oh, I'll take a risk, go see that, and see what it's like. I mean, the thing about unknowns is you got to make sure the casting is right for people to want to go there, because if you get someone like Justin Bieber playing Booster Gold, then no one is going to want to go to the cinemas to see a musician turned actor playing a superhero.
DC is already doing really bad with Batman, with Superman, with like no one really is like enjoying like Ezra Miller's Flash right now. The Flash has just been a side character. He cannot support his own movie. My casting for Booster Gold right now is Chris Evans. He's just leaving the MCU. He's the perfect fit for Booster Gold. Also, I have Christopher Wood in the possibility of contention. He has done really well in the superhero, as in Supergirl with Mon-El. He also has the perfect look. Like I said, Flash, if you mess this up, you have to find the perfect casting. And Flash has been done to death in the cartoons. The 90s TV show, the current TV show, we haven't had that many interactions with Booster Gold. And that's what a lot of fans are looking for right now, something new, something different. And Guardians did really well in the box office when it first came out, and it was an unknown property. So saying that just because Flash is more well-known, it's going to do better, that is not necessarily true, especially what the MCU has done. I would say Booster Gold will be doing a lot more. Shazam is doing a lot better in trailer than Aquaman is. And Shazam is far unknown than Aquaman. Because we haven't even seen Shazam in the movie. We've seen Aquaman.
Yes, but to use the Guardians as an example against you, the MCU has already been well known, and all the movies before Guardians that come out were great. So people are not afraid. We're not afraid to go to Guardians, thinking because they knew that's like, well, the MCU's got a good track record so far. This movie might be good, even though we don't know much about the characters. DC, whether it's DC, Worlds DC, DCU, whatever, I don't care. It's like they don't have that much of a track record for a unknown. I mean, Shazam's probably going to be the thing that's going to show how an unknown can work. But
and as you were saying about DC, how they said they're going to do Wally West, they're not going to do Wally West. They're going to do what they've already established, which is Ezra Miller. And right now, it's just Ezra Miller playing an Ezra Miller character who can run slightly faster.
All right, time.
It's all Ezra Miller.
All right, time. We're going to get into closing. And this time in your closing, I want you to kind of sell me, maybe pick a definitive actors for me to visualize who you're going with, and give me a bit of an idea of why I need to see a movie with this character in it. And I'll go ahead and start with Malcolm for his closing.
Yeah, so like for the Flash, I mean, I'll stick with Ezra Miller as the thing. Because the thing is, we don't know, like they haven't given him a chance to headline his own movie, so we don't know if he can support his own movie yet. So if they give him a chance, we'll find out. But and like for the storylines, like you could start, then maybe at the end go into the Flashpoint, then all the other movies after it show what happens in that Flashpoint timeline, and then maybe like they have a couple years of each. But anyway, I'm off track. But yeah, the thing is with Booster Gold is like, as I always said, like the unknown is a really big thing is in the DCU. Is like taking a risk is like. At the moment, it just looks like they're throwing darts in a dartboard, seeing what can stick and what doesn't.
All right, time. We'll go over to Richard. We have 1 minute for your closing.
My Booster Gold is going to be Chris Evans. Booster Gold is basically the personality of Human Torch with the look of Captain America. Chris Evans has done excellent in both of those. He would be the perfect fit. Booster Gold not only will have the humor and the unpredictability of we don't have this right now in the superheroes, but someone coming back to the present day from the future. That's something that's new. Not even the MCU has really tackled yet. So that is new and different. And that's something that can definitely excel. And also, Booster Gold has a talking robot. And as we all know, people love talking robots. And that is the thing that's going to sell it. Booster Gold. Ezra Miller is an okay Flash. He's not Grant Gustin. It's just Ezra Miller playing Ezra Miller. DC is already going downhill when it comes to their movies. With the exception of Wonder Woman, Booster Gold can be a fresh new outtake with really no risk. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of humor, a lot of action, and I believe can bring the world of DC to a brand new light.
Time. That actually went to 59 seconds and 59.99 seconds. So good job.
I need that. I need that second to drink some coffee.
All right. We'll start with Tim on this one.
I think in the beginning, a lot of different points. Malcolm bringing up Warner Brothers needing a hit with something like the Flash could really work out, and Rich going in with, well, we just see an Ezra Miller Flash. But if we're going into a world of recasting and who knows, it could be very interesting to see more of a Flash, a newer Flash, and like with Malcolm said, there could be different versions of the Flash. We could see a kid Flash. We don't have to see just the regular Flash. We could see other different Flashes. And the Flashpoint, it brings a lot of opportunities. And it was really a back and forth with Malcolm and Rich using points against each other very well in the debating round. I think Malcolm tripped up in the final round with trying to land an actor, a main actor for it, because it's really kind of hard depending on the different routes you could take with the Flash. Like he covered with all the different angles. With Booster Gold, Rich was very adamant with Chris Evans. With him leaving the MCU, we might not necessarily see that. Marvel has that reputation to build up their unknowns, which kind of gives them a good track record, and DC doesn't really have that, so it could kind of hurt seeing a Booster Gold movie, and they might go with a Flash more to be safe on a business standpoint, which was argued in round 2 very well. So I would have to give the point to Malcolm on this one.
All right, we'll go to Jim. What were your thoughts on this one?
So I like to keep mine short and sweet. I was feeling Richard. I was feeling Richard's idea of like going something that's kind of different, and it works better for like recasting and stuff like that. And Malcolm kind of struggled with thinking of someone other than Ezra Miller, but he also with Flashpoint could explain recastings and stuff, so that's fun. But Richard killed it. He just killed it for me because I was hesitant when they double dipped Chris Evans from Johnny Storm to Captain America, and he wants to triple dip Captain America to Booster Gold. I'm just not okay with that at all. I'm just no. So Malcolm gets the point.
All right, Malcolm, you are getting the point on this one. My vote does not matter. I would have actually given my point to Richard because I think Richard hammered in the idea of doing something new and different, and how Shazam is tracking better than Aquaman, and that shows that there's a market for the unknown rather than the familiar. And he kind of beat the idea that Flash has been done to death already pretty well.
There was another point I wanted to point out with Richards too, about the time traveling from the future. Marvel kind of did that with Cable already, so it's kind of just like.
No, I said MCU.
MCU. You did say MCU.
I said MCU. I didn't say Marvel.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, with Cable doing that, it would kind of give like a little bit of a. I've already seen this before. If someone comes back,
to be completely fair to Tim's point, after in 2019, that Deadpool is just gonna like randomly be in the MCU because Deadpool. So technically, it's gonna count.
Okay.
And I mean,
that was in the argument, though. So
they Legends of Tomorrow anyway. So.
Oh, right. So,
good job, Malcolm. Like, the Flash was going to be tough to beat.
All right, so
Yeah.
With that, we are tied 1 apiece, getting into our final prepared round, which is thus pitch Star Wars Episode 9. Where are we going from here? And we're going to start with Richard. 1 minute for your opening argument when you are ready.
Oh. So this is the one where I'm worried about. Just not worried about, just because I'm not good at pitching things, but I do think I have a very solid one. I'm going with Star Wars Episode 9, Jedi Collision. So what is taking place is Kylo Ren is appearing in his base, recollecting the events of The Last Jedi, where all of a sudden this mysterious bounty hunter appears with a lightsaber, and he's instructing Kylo Ren that the only way to defeat the Jedis, is to do a one-on-one confrontation, final battle, to consider it all. Going over to the next side, Rey is also dealing similar events with the loss of Luke Skywalker, where suddenly Luke Skywalker appears as a Force ghost. And basically, I can't pitch the whole thing in a minute, so they're going to fight final collision where right before Rey's trying to convince Kylo Ren to come back to the light, a mysterious figure shoots Kylo Ren in the heart. And right before he dies, we don't know what the mysterious vision is. So towards the end of the movie of Episode 9, you see the person who shot Kylo Ren being paid off by the mysterious bounty hunter. And then then this bounty hunter removes the mask. It is revealed to be an alternate version of Rey from another universe. And that is right. I am making this a gateway to an alternate reality Star Wars movie.
All right. Alternate reality Star Wars. Malcolm, 1 minute for your opening arguments for what is your Episode 9?
So for this, I'm calling mine The Last of the Jedi, because J.J. Abrams definitely has some ground to make up from The Last Jedi, and I think for this I was just thinking that he's going to retcon what Rian Johnson did about Rey's parentage and make her related to Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is the theory which I believe is the right one. And I think it's it's basically going to be like Rey ultimately sort of going on this adventure, then fighting Kylo Ren to death, and then and ultimately and then at the end of it is going to be sort of Rey going, well, I'm not going to train anyone else. It's the end of the line. And then for any other future movies, they don't have to rely on nostalgia. They can just start afresh, do a new story, new characters, and all that. So I'm thinking that this is the last of that Skywalker 9 movie arc.
All right, time. All right, so the end of the Skywalkers versus alternate realities. 5 minutes. As soon as you start talking, whoever wants to begin, go ahead.
Alternate reality Star Wars is a terrible idea. A lot of people hated when they brought time travel into Star Wars at the end of Rebels. So do you want to bring in alternate reality and all that to mess things up? I do not see that happening. What they need to do is do a movie that sort of ties up the arc so that any future movies they can start afresh with new characters and new locations, which is what they should have done with this new sequel. Because as a lot of people will point out, these new trilogies have been pretty much sort of
exactly what you're saying. These last 2 movies have messed up completely Star Wars. With alternate reality, it can give fans the hope that this isn't the actual reality of the original Star Wars trilogy. Like, this could possibly, the current Force Awakens, Last Jedi could actually be in a different universe from the original. And not only you open up alternate reality, you can bring back characters from, like, Rogue One. Like, you can bring back the robot from Rogue One. You can bring back some of your favorite characters in different light. You can bring back Darth Maul. You can bring back some of your favorite characters. You can make Yoda a Sith in another reality. It can open up exciting. The problem with your movie is it's kind of predictable. Like, you want to just kill off, like, your title alone kind of like predictability. Oh, Skywalker's leaving? Rey's going to lose? It's just a kind of a predictable film. Mine it can open up fresh ideas, not only to the movie universe, but for television shows, video games. It can expand the universe. You can bring back Han Solo. A lot of people are mad that they killed off Han Solo. You can bring him back from an alternate universe. And if Harrison Ford doesn't want to come back, you can say in an alternate reality that the young Han Solo got frozen for like 80 years. Bring back the current one from the movie, Han Solo movie.
Yeah, I mean, the reception Solo's gotten, I don't think anyone wants to see any of those characters come back.
The actor wasn't the problem. It was the script itself.
Because just by going Last of the Jedi, it's, well, yes, people may assume they think they know, and I do not say that Rey's going to lose the final battle. I'm kind of expecting of Rey winning that battle, but deciding not to train anyone else to be a Jedi. This is sort of going to be the last of that line. And this, like, we all know that Rian Johnson's working, well, I don't know if it's still in the works, but he's working on a new trilogy.
Yours is going to be a re-hashtag of Return of the Jedi? Just like a re-hashtag of Empire was Last Jedi? Like New Hope was a re-hashtag of, Force Awakens? You're just making it like another hashtag of the third original movie. Mine... People are upset that Rey wasn't even tempted to the dark side from The Last Jedi. People are like really upset, like she's been so OP, like her virtuous character that annoy people. With this bringing Rey as a villain and alternate Rey as not only a Sith, but as a villain, I think could bring out new horizons.
Rey as a villain makes no sense. Like alternate realities, it is a thing that people try in TV series, which they can have multiple episodes sort of exploring that in a, say, 2-hour movie, bringing in alternate realities to, it's going to be too much for 2 hours to explain. People, like, if you're going to bring it up right at the very end, people are going to be wondering, what the hell's going on? I mean,
well, the difference is it's not going to be all explained in this one movie. Like, mine's not an ending of the trilogy. It's a continuation, so they can take their time. That's the problem with the last two movies is they're thinking ideas of fix 3, so they're trying to rush so many things, and too many directors are contradicting each other just to get their ideas into this movie before the last movie comes out. Mine is they can take their time. They can set up for other future movies, for other future shows. And for the fact that it doesn't make sense, it is sci-fi fantasy. Sci-fi fantasy, anything is possible. And I disagree. A lot of people do like alternate timelines. People love the Flashpoint comics in the Flash. People love Sliders, the TV show. Doctor Who's an alternate reality people love. So don't say people don't love alternate reality. They do.
At time. That has been our 5 minutes of open debate. Richard, we'll let you do your closing first. You have 1 minute when you start talking to give us your closing.
Jedi Collision it needs to happen with alternate reality. It's something that's fresh and it's fresh for the Star Wars universe. You can bring back Force Ghost people, but people want to see the original, like the prequel Obi-Wan for the longest time. You can bring him back as a Force Ghost. You can bring back like Darth Maul as a Sith Ghost. We have never seen a Sith Ghost. Alternate reality can not only fix what The Last Jedi Force Awakens has done, but it can also expand into other movies or other possibilities for continuation. It doesn't have to be just Rey and Finn and Poe and Kylo Ren. It can be about a future where Finn's a Jedi in an alternate universe. There's so many options you can explore, and that's why I think mine's just a cool idea for Star Wars to bank on.
All right, time. Malcolm, 1 minute when you start talking.
Yeah, I mean, people hated when they put time travel into Star Wars via Rebels. I mean, I do not see people liking the idea of alternate reality and accepting it. With my idea, and it's not really going to be rehashed because it's, for me, the journey to the point where Kylo Ren dies is going to be different from Return of the Jedi. it's all about for these movies. It's all about the journey, and I think you've used the whole Skywalker lineage, Kenobi lineage to death. I mean, with this one, you can sort of end the saga and then start afresh with a new visiting new characters, new worlds, without rehashing old and bringing back the old back again, which is what they should have done with this new trilogy in the first place.
All right, time. Woo! That was quite a round. I'm gonna go first since my thoughts didn't count last time. I'm giving my point to Malcolm because I think Malcolm did a really good job of referencing how time travel is already been hated upon from when Rebels introduced it. I don't think Malcolm had to do too much to win this fight. I think he was able to knock down Richard's argument with just a couple hits. Richard was fighting from behind the entire round. He did all right. It's just I feel like none of his hits on Malcolm's really landed, so I'm giving my point to Malcolm. Tim, you look like you're about to explode.
Yeah, that's a big and this goes back to TV Talk when we covered The Last Jedi spoilers. I think, like you said, yeah, Richard was fighting a losing battle, basically mixing Flashpoint in with Star Wars as Malcolm shot down. It didn't work in Rebels. It's not going to work in this. A lot of people hated what they've done so far with these two movies, and Malcolm's really brings it to a close of everything that they messed up. It closes it, and you can start afresh instead of opening up things that no one really has asked for yet to continue on this nonsense. It really just closes it, ends it, and we can start fresh. And I'd give my point to Malcolm.
All right, Jim, your point didn't count this round, but what would you have said for this one?
I kind of echo Tim's sentiments there, where the alternate timeline thing is kind of funky, but without all the extra stuff in it, I think it could work. But the big thing is, I think Richard's idea works better for an episode 10, and Malcolm's works better for an episode 9. Malcolm's works better as episode 9 to close like these characters' trilogy or whatever, but Richard's would have worked better as a 10, where it's like then you open up and you could open up with an alternate whatever and so is whatever, and then you would have you'd have an entire movie and 2 more movies to explore that the alternate timelines and stuff like that. But I think Malcolm's would work better as a closure of a trilogy.
All right,
Congrats, Malcolm.
Malcolm is up. Malcolm is up 2-1 going into the speed round. The speed round works like this. We're going to throw out the topic. You very quickly give us your answer. First person to say it will get to go first. We'll get to go first, and we'll have 20 seconds for their opening, 15 seconds for a rebuttal. That is how it's going to work for both people. Any questions as we get into the speed round? We go until someone reaches 5 points. Any questions? Nope. All right. Your first speed round question is, who is the best Star Wars prequel character?
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
I heard Richard first.
I heard Richard first on Obi-Wan as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Qui-Gon then.
All right, Qui-Gon.
Neither one of you gets the point. The answer is Jar Jar Binks.
All right, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus
AKA
Qui-Gon.
Darth Sidious.
Jim
Obi-Wan
loses
Kenobi
all
versus
points.
Qui-Gon Jinn versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. Richard, you said it first, so you have 20 seconds for your opening argument on why Obi-Wan's the best.
The majority of the prequel movies were almost universally hated. Most of them did not like it, but everyone universally almost agreed that Hugh McGregor's performance of Obi-Wan Kenobi was the best performance in those series. He had great dialogue, great action. He put a lot of heart that some of these other actors in these other movies did not put through. They misused Leslie Nielsen as Qui-Gon.
All right. Malcolm,
Liam Neeson.
20 seconds when you start talking.
Qui-Gon Jinn was an interesting character to debut in the prequels. He had so much fun. His interactions with everyone worked. The thing about Obi-Wan is, Ewan McGregor was just sort of bringing in what Alex Guinness did and sort of using it
Time.
and just
Liam Neeson
Okay, hold on,
was
hold on,
an
hold on.
character. Oh,
Okay. I have to
Sorry.
hit time for you to start. All right, Richard, go ahead when you start talking. 15 seconds.
they had Liam Neeson. He was such a bland character in the episode 1. I disagree. Ewan McGregor was just like a knockoff of the original Obi-Wan. He had a lot of heart. He had a lot of sincerity. He put so much work into these prequel movies. A lot of people absolutely adored this movie.
Time.
Liam Neeson.
All right. And Malcolm, 15 seconds for your closer.
yes, but all Ewan McGregor had to do to prepare for his role was to watch the old movies. Liam Neeson had nothing to work on. He just had what the scripts told him to do, and he did great despite a lot of the bad writing that was
Time.
in the prequels.
All right. I'm going to start with Jim. Who are you going with on this one?
Qui-Gon is really cool, but I'm gonna give it to Richard because I like Richard's point of just that Ewan McGregor is like the best. It's just throughout the 3 movies, is just the best one.
All right. I'm going to give my point to Malcolm because Malcolm made a good dig on Ewan McGregor, just kind of studying from the films and trying to do an Ewan McGregor or an Alec Guinness impression, while Liam Neeson had to bring something completely original. That was a good point. So I'm going to give it to Malcolm. Tim, what are your thoughts? Where are you leaning?
You're on mute, Tim.
You're on mute, Tim.
Sorry. First, I was going towards Richard in the beginning of the argument, even though, despite saying Liam Neeson, he said Leslie Nielsen, and I kind of just wanted to strangle him over the computer.
That would be awesome.
That was fun.
But Malcolm really did bring up that point of Liam Neeson going in dry with this character, not really knowing how or what to really do with it or how to shape it. Ewan McGregor, did bring a lot of heart, but he had a lot of material to look at with Alec Guinness's great performances thus far with the original 3. So I would have to say, with Liam Neeson really bringing what he did to Qui-Gon, really stood out better for me, to give my point to Malcolm.
All right. Malcolm is up 3-1 as we get into our second speed round question, which is, what is the worst Pixar film?
Cars 2.
All right. Cars. Richard's getting Cars 2. Malcolm, what are you taking?
Oh, Malcolm gets co-host point.
Brave.
All right. Cars 2 and Brave. Richard,
you poor soul, Richard.
Richard, you did talk first, so go ahead. You have 20 seconds when you start talking.
Cars 2 was by far a monstrosity of what the original Cars was. I mean, who wants to see a movie about Mater? No one wanted to see a movie. Mater is a side character, not a leading actor. This movie was just like a bad version of Fast and Furious with a horrible James Bond. It was like bad acting.
All right. Malcolm, 20 seconds when you start talking.
Yes, but the thing about Brave is one that a lot of people could see as being raised. There's a lot of people doing really terrible Scottish accents. Like some of them came close, but yeah. And the thing with Cars 2, it's entertaining, and it was better than the first movie.
All right, time.
It was. Oh, sorry.
15 seconds when you start talking.
It was not better than the first movie. The first movie had a lot of heart, a lot of enjoyability. Brave was also a very good movie. It dealt with like Scotland action adventure, whereas Cars had nothing. I mean, and Brave is Disney. Disney did really well. A lot of people love Brave. No one really liked Cars 2.
All right. Malcolm, 15 seconds for your closer when you start talking.
I mean, Cars 2, it did okay at the box office. Lots of people still went to go see it. Like, Brave did not do that great, and the storyline just really floundered at times.
All right, time. Looking at the arguments of it, I'm gonna lean slightly to Malcolm because Malcolm did do a fine job of defending why Cars 2 is good and hitting on why Brave is bad, bringing up the awful accents and how it's kind of it's a half-baked script. Whereas Richard did a great job of just destroying Cars 2, but he never hit Brave. He said Brave was good, and that was it. And he did, I'm pretty sure Richard's never seen Brave. It deals with Scotland was my favorite quote from this match. But I'm gonna lean slightly to Malcolm. Jim, where are you going?
So peek behind the curtain here. I just Googled the cast of Brave, and they're literally all Scottish except for Emma Thompson. So they're not trying to do Scottish accents. They're just Scottish people. So I don't know if that point holds up for Malcolm. But I mean, I gotta go with Richard just because everything that once Richard picked Cars 2, and it's like, here's everything about Cars 2 that makes it bad. It's like, well, that's it. There's nothing Malcolm can say to like, okay, Cars 2 is good for this reason. No, it's not. It's just terrible.
I was shocked no one went with Good Dinosaur. But Tim, where are you going?
I think Jim can agree on this is another behind-the-scenes thing. I think even though only one person gets a point, I think the whole audience wins just watching Toho get destroyed with Pixar with movies that he loves because he writes so many fucking questions on them.
Where is everyone getting this I love Cars 2 thing? I don't like Cars 2.
Let's go with the history of how you write those fandom matches.
I like Cars. Cars 2.
I think Richard really hit the point of why his is worse than Brave. Malcolm only had bad Scottish accents, and Richard brings up Mater's a side character. Who the fuck cares? Who wants to see Larry the Cable Guy stumble on screen for however long that piece of shit aired for the theaters? And I really think he hammered on more of why Cars 2 is worse than Brave, so I would go with Richard.
All right.
Isn't Brave Disney? Is it Pixar as well?
No, it's Pixar.
Brave is Pixar. Brave is Pixar, but halfway through the development, Disney rewrote the script and redid it halfway through production. So that's why people think it's Brave. Also, Brave won the Oscar, and Cars 2 didn't. Wasn't even nominated for the Oscar.
And quick point that you forgot to bring up, Richard. If you would have just also said Cars got a sequel before Incredibles, it was like that would have been undeniable as well.
Why do you have a tape measure?
Because it's fun to play with.
To point out your.
All right. We are sitting at a 3-2 score in favor of Malcolm. Your next speed round question is, what is the best Arrowverse show?
Flash.
Arrow.
All right, The Flash versus Arrow. Malcolm, you spoke first. You're going to get 20 seconds to give your opening argument as soon as you start talking.
The Flash is the best Arrowverse show because it has done so much with bringing in the high effects of showing someone's speed around on screen well, and Grant Gustin is killing it playing Barry Allen at The Flash, and the duality of the characters works.
All right. Richard, 20 seconds when you start talking.
Arrow is the best Arrowverse show, not only because it's the original, because it also has the number of better seasons than The Flash. The Flash, the only good seasons right now is the first 2. Flash has 4 solid seasons. It has great characters. Steve Amell is also killing it as the Green Arrow. Without the Arrow, you would not have the Flash. Arrow has a lot more character development, and Flash is just all about the humor.
Time. We'll go over to Malcolm. 15 seconds for your rebuttal when you start talking.
All the seasons of The Flash have been entertaining, and the last 2 where they chose not to do a speedster as the villain, it was a good change of pace. And with Arrows, like the first 2 seasons were good, like the
time. All right, Richard, 15 seconds to take it home.
You said it yourself. The first 3 seasons of The Flash, it was a speedster villain, one after another after another. There is no chemistry between Grant Gustin and Candace Payton as Iris West. There's no chemistry. There is chemistry between Stephen Amell and Emily B. Rickards. There is chemistry all around with all the cast. And right now, The Flash is just using the same humor movie points over and over. Oh, sorry.
All right, Tim.
Just a quick point. As long as it's not in making a whole another different point, you can finish your sentence after he says time. You don't have to cut yourself off in the middle of the sentence.
All right, Tim, where are you leaning on this one?
I think, honestly, I'm leaning more towards The Flash because The Flash, Richard brings up it doesn't do character development well, but I think it does do it better with Grant Gustinson, with Iris, with Cisco, with Joe. I really think they do hammer that home more than Arrow because, like what Malcolm was saying, Arrow first 2 seasons were good, then it started to get boring, repetitive whatsoever. But with The Flash, it keeps bringing you interest and it keeps bringing you throughout the story, and you want to keep continuing. And I think it Richard trying to use it as a detriment towards Malcolm when Malcolm says it was a different change of pace after 3 speed villains, and it was a different pace that they needed instead of a recurring same villain. And with Arrow, it's just continuing. This is what happened with me in the island, yada yada yada. And I think Flash really brings it more home with an overall better feel for it. So I would go with the Flash.
Isn't this based on the arguments, though?
It is based on the arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jim,
go first. Go before me.
Me go before you? All right, fair. I'm actually going to give my point to Richard. I think I personally think Arrow is god-awful, and Richard convinced me that Arrow is good. So that's how good of an argument he put up. He also hammered back. I don't think Malcolm ever really attacked Arrow as well as Richard ripped into The Flash. While Malcolm picked my personal favorite show, I got to go with Arrow. So Richard did a good job there. That's where I'm leaving my point to. And Jim.
I'm going to agree with Coho just because I agree with the point that Coho made of spoiler alert, I've never seen any episode of any of the Arrowverse shows, so I'm not really that well versed in any of them. But I think Richard sounded like and gave more points of why the Flash is bad. So he made it sound like the Flash is terrible, and
it's not. But he did it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that Richard did a better job of making a show sound terrible that actually isn't terrible.
All right, Richard's got the point. We're all tied up at 3 apiece as we get into our next speed round question, which is, what is the best X-Men film universe character?
Wolverine.
Malcolm's taking Wolverine.
Like the Bruce Lee card.
I'm going with Professor Xavier.
Ooh, Professor X. All right. No one taking Deadpool. That's interesting. All right. Malcolm, you spoke first. You're going to have 20 seconds to give your argument once you start talking.
Wolverine is the better X-Men movie universe character because he's been there since the first movie. He's been most felt. He even stood out in his worst movies as really good, and that is all down to Hugh Jackman playing him. I mean, Professor X is one that is.
All right, Professor X. 20 seconds when you start talking.
Professor X has also been there since day one in the very first movie. He's also had memorable moments throughout the movies. But not only that, he has a amazing backstory. He lost his legs. He has the most powerful mind in the world. He can literally kill any mutant with basically a blink of the eye. He was one of the best moments of Logan, of Wolverine's own movie.
Time. All right, Malcolm. 15 seconds for your closer when you start talking.
Professor X has been really inconsistently portrayed on screens. Like Patrick Stewart, when he played him, was great, but James McAvoy has had moments of mix up. It's like his moments haven't been that great. Wolverine has been played up.
All right. Richard, 15 seconds to close it all out.
Both Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy brought something new and fresh to the character Professor X, which both believe the new and current timeline will actually work together. You can really believe James McAvoy is the young Professor X. Hugh Jackman was in Wolverine X-Men Origins, and that was a god-awful movie. Should never have happened. And just for that, he should...
All right, I'm going to start on this one and say I'm actually leaning towards Richard. Richard did a good job of showing me of countering Malcolm's points. Malcolm couldn't really get any good digs in on Professor X except in that rebuttal where he kind of brought up the two actors thing, and Richard shut that down. So I gotta give it to Richard. Richard did a better job of arguing for Professor X. So go to Jim.
I actually think I really liked Malcolm's point. I mean, yeah, the Wolverine one, X-Men Origins Wolverine is terrible, but I think that's more writing than Wolverine himself. I think I'm gonna go with Malcolm just because I do think there is some there's some inconsistency with Professor X, and for once it go First Class, if we're just counting First Class and Days of Future Past, but then that dog shit Apocalypse came out, and it's what is this? Why? And it's yep, that backs Malcolm's inconsistency of Professor X.
All right, Tim, you're the deciding vote. Where are you gonna lie?
I mean, both of them bringing up very good digs. With Richard, I think going more for the movie performances, with X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I do agree with Jim that was probably more of just a bad writing, because in Logan it was everybody that stood out in there, not just Patrick Stewart, but everyone stood out in that. And I think that kind of hurt a little bit because everyone, including Hugh Jackman, his last performance did stand out very well, and he's always stood out very well as Wolverine. And with the inconsistencies of the two actors, yes, Patrick Stewart, like Richard said, was good, but James McAvoy had kind of an up and down roller coaster with how he portrayed Professor X. So I would have to go a little bit more towards Malcolm. I really wish they would have got more time to go into this. I kind of wish this was a first rounder, Caleb. This should have been a first rounder. Fuck you.
All right. Fair enough. We might see this question come up again with different people. But Malcolm takes the lead here. It's 4-3. This is a must-hit for Richard. If he gets it, we're going to the final question. If Malcolm gets this, this is over. Your final speed round, or not final, but penultimate speed round question is, which is the better film, Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 3.
All right. Malcolm arguing for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Malcolm going for Spider-Man 3. Richard, you did start there. Richard, you did talk first, so you'll have 20 seconds to give your opening argument when you start talking.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not awful, as everyone says. It was okay. There were a lot of problem points, but it was a lot better than Spider-Man 3. Amazing Spider-Man 2 had amazing chemistry with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. That death scene was one of the most memorable scenes in superhero movies, one of the most memorable scenes. There was at least some huge chances with Amazing Spider-Man 2. With Spider-Man 3, had horrible villains.
All right. Malcolm, you're going to have 20 seconds to start talking.
The thing is, Spider-Man 3, it was pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it more than Spider-Man 2, but that death scene talked about was the only memorable scene in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like with Spider-Man 3, Sandman was portrayed well. Like the Green Goblin was still a perfect cast. Well, yes, you've got Venom, who wasn't that great, but I mean, you don't.
Time.
All the villains.
All right, Richard, you have 15 seconds when you start talking.
First of all, the Green Goblin wasn't even in the movie. It was the New Goblin, and James Franco did a horrible job as New Goblin. Venom was butchered terribly. Wrong casting choice, wrong attire. I mean, the sudden mismatch of the scenes where, oh, New Goblin's also now best friends, just for that one hint.
All right. Malcolm, you have 15 seconds to give your rebuttal when you start talking.
Yes, but all the villains in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 were just as terrible. I mean, you got Paul Giamatti wasted as the Rhino. You can't even remember his name, playing whatever the hell the Goblin thing was.
Time.
You had.
You think of Dane DeHaan.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Jim on this one. Where are you giving your point to, and why?
Malcolm was coming out with some jabs, but Richard was just bringing in those combos. He was throwing uppercuts, hooks. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is absolutely awful, but Richard argued better, especially with how much Venom was just terrible. James Franco's terrible, and he at least brought in like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry, which is but you know, at least I think Richard did a better job defending tearing down Spider-Man 3, and Malcolm didn't do much to just destroy Amazing Spider-Man 2 like he could have.
All right, Tim, where are you giving your point to?
Both of them coming out with the quick jabs. I think Richard got a few more in to hammer his point. Malcolm, towards the end, with the shorter time, was starting to get into hammering into the villains, the unforgettable villains of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Granted, both of them had horrible villains. But I think if he would have had time, he could have hammered in more of how those villains are worse in Spider-Man 3. But Richard did argue the points better to get into why Amazing Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 3. So I'd have to go to Richard.
I completely agree with that. Richard has 4 points. We are going to the final question. We're all tied at 4, and your final.
Malcolm, whatever happens, you've been doing great. You've been an amazing fighter. So whatever happens, great job so far.
Final speed round question is, which is the better TV show? Star Wars The Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels?
Star Wars Rebels.
All right, Richard has Clone Wars. Malcolm has Rebels. All right. I think I heard Malcolm with Rebels first. So I am going to allow Malcolm to start 20 seconds when you start talking for why Rebels is the better show.
Star Wars Rebels is the better show because it covers as area where we hadn't visited before, and the casting of Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan and all the other people, I can't quite remember their names. I know I've heard them before, but
time.
Yeah.
All right, Richard, 20 seconds. We start talking for why Clone Wars is the better show.
Clone Wars is the better show because it made the prequels watchable. It actually, these Clone Wars are based off the prequels, and the prequels are awful. And at least the Clone Wars made a good attempt. It was actually a very successful show that actually made the prequels actually stand out. Rebels, you can't even mention any of the characters' names just in your line. So, like, how memorable is that really of a show if you can't remember anyone from Rebels?
Time.
Clone Wars has Anakin.
All right. Malcolm, 15 seconds for your rebuttal when you start talking.
Yeah, I mean, all the episodes of Rebels from the pilot to the end have been equally as good, and and each one they give each character a good outline. You've got Sabine, you've got
time. All right, Richard, 15 seconds when you start talking for your rebuttal.
You named only one character in Star Wars Rebels. Attack of the Clones had Anakin. It brought back Darth Maul, which was everyone's favorite thing about Episode 1. They had General Grievous. They had Obi-Wan Kenobi. They had amazing story arcs with Anakin having his own Padawan and having the character relationship between him and his Padawan, which I thought was phenomenal.
Time. All right. Surprised Richard did not bring back previous point from the third round, but about the time travel thing. All right. Tim, we're going to start with you. Where are you voting on this one?
I mean, if we're just going on arguments based, Richard had the better argument, even though I agree on a philosophical point. Rebels is better. If Malcolm would have been able to get more into explaining it, he could have easily taken it, but Richard was able to really quickly hammer down Malcolm really fast, so he got the point for me.
All right. Jim, where are you going on this one?
Go before me.
All right, I will go before you then. I'm also going to go with Richard because he nailed his reasons why Rebels isn't good. He turned Malcolm's own words against him with the by mentioning that how memorable is the cast if you can only name one character, and also was able to bring up he listed characters from his own show, and he also hit up the arcs. I think Malcolm kind of stumbled and maybe shot himself in the foot there in his opening. So I'm going to give it to Richard Jim.
Since Richard has one, I'm going to give my vote to Malcolm to make him feel better.
And your winner, Richard Schwartz.
Can I just say that I haven't seen either shows?
Well, very good job arguing that one. Wow. That was a great fight.
I mean, go to the Clone Wars because you can just name characters on the prequels.
That was a that was a great.
I never even heard of Rebels. I was like, "What is Rebels?" That's why I had to pick Clone Wars. I never even heard of Rebels.
It was a great fight between the two. Came down to the last question. That's a sign of two very strong fighters. Malcolm has nothing to hang his head about. It just came down to the end there. What were your thoughts on this one, Jim?
I thought it was a good back and forth. I thought Malcolm was going to have it going into the speed round, but Richard just cleaned up those points in the speed round, and it was a great one to watch and judge.
Tim, what were your thoughts on this one?
It was a good fight going all the way to the end of the speed round. It was kind of like seeing Rocky and Apollo in Rocky 2, where Apollo just kind of ran out of steam there at the end, and Apollo ran out of steam at the end, and then Rocky was able to get the victory in the end. So it kind of reminded me of that. I think Malcolm just kind of ran out of steam in that last question, and Richard was able to fight back better in the arguing with that last one. So yeah, it was a good fight for both these guys.
I completely agree. All right, so I'm gonna go interview these guys, starting with Malcolm. How do you feel about your performance in this one?
I mean, I've got nothing to feel bad about. Like, Richard took me to the end. I mean, it wasn't like it was a blowout of anything, and there was sort of it feels like I was disappointed there was no Harry Potter question. I would have killed him if there was a Harry Potter question debate.
Oh, me too. I love Harry. I love Harry Potter. Just saying.
But yeah, it was a fun match, and he just brought a lot out of me.
All right. So it sounds like you want to keep playing, right? This is somewhere you want to keep being, huh?
I love debating. As like whether it's doing it on the Late Show or doing a movie Battleground. It all like a great debater sort of it keeps going. Is like it's not all about what you can bring to the table. It's what your opponents bring out of you as well. It's like sometimes they can bring up a point which shoots themselves in the foot. You can just counter and take it down, which is what Richard did to me. Is like, and it's all about the opponents you face. Like they can either bring out the best of you or bring out the worst in you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we hope to see you back. You did great today. You played your heart out. I'm pretty sure any other opponent you would have faced, you probably would have won. But yeah, good job today. Nothing to hang your head about, and we'll hope to see you back soon. All right, Richard, our winner today. How do you feel coming off that win?
Oh, super exhausted, but very happy. First of all, Malcolm, you did absolutely amazing. Like, this was my first time actually, debating. Like, I was watching the Nerdgasm, I watch movie fights, and like, it's a lot different when you're actually competing than it is to watch. And so, like, I absolutely loved Malcolm's Star Wars pitch. Like, that was the one where, like, I knew I was going to lose because, like, I could not think of a good pitch. That was my alternate out. Malcolm was a very tough opponent. It could have gone either way. Very proud of my performance, though. I was able to come out with the speed round, and I look forward to do this again. This was a lot of fun. Now that I got myself, into this, like, my good warm up for my next fight. So I know what to expect now. So thank you so much, Malcolm. You did a great job.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have your next guy for you. You are now into the second round of this sort of Nerdgasm tournament. You're in the hunt for the belt, and your next opponent is none other than the Purger himself, Brian Fernandez. How do you feel about taking on Brian in the next round?
We'll see how it goes when we get there. I mean, it's gonna be a new fighter, new day, new battle.
All right, completely.
And I also agree with Malcolm that there should have been a Harry Potter question.
All right, that's fair enough. That's my bad on my end. But yeah, great fight today for both of you. Excited to see you in the next round there, Rich. And it's gonna be great. Tim, this was a great match. How are you excited to see what's next with these two?
Yeah, I really am, because like Malcolm, I think both of them capitalized, but Malcolm was when you started with him capitalizing on. It really depends on not only your performance, but what your your opponent is able to bring out of you as a fighter, as a debater, and that's really a key point, because going against who you're going to debate with in the future really depends on how not only you're going to perform, but how they're going to perform and how well the fight it's going to be between two new players.
Absolutely. But with that, we're going to get this out of here. This has been Nerdgasm. We're going to get into our plug, starting with our winner, Richard Schwartz. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook under Richard Schwartz. You can find me on YouTube under External Void, where I do mobile gaming. I'm about 40-something short of 1,000 subs. I'm excited for that. And you can find me on Twitter under External Void.
All right. Malcolm, where can they find you?
You can find me on Take Few Productions, where I host my show Bankum every Sunday night. We're in the middle of our Halloween October month, and the next episode will be movies that are set on Halloween. You can also find me competing in trivia, multiplex, and Worldwide Movie Games. I've got a few matches coming up. You can also find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Melkor.
All right. Tim, where can they find you?
You can find, since Jim left, you can find him saying he's the head of TV while I'm doing all the work behind the scenes. You can find him on there. You can find him in Sports Battlefield as a competitor, same as Caleb. You can find me here as the head of keeping all this in check mostly for Multiplex with Movie Mondays, TV Tuesdays, Sports Wednesdays, Fandom Fridays, co-hosting with Caleb for Multiplex Fantasy Football on Wednesdays, and all the different shows such as Caleb and Jake's Untitled Masterpiece show coming for Thursdays, and of course other shows we have Around the League on Sundays with Nico. Like I said, it's Nico. But yeah, you can find us all there. You can find the TeePublic shirts. Support your favorite players. Every shirt you buy helps Kane get a cigarette so he doesn't become somebody's bitch in an Afghani prison. So that's where you can find me.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Caleb Coho. That's KALEBKOHO. You can find me on YouTube at Caleb Coho, where I do music, Coho Productions, where I do film. On both channels right now, my movie Chick Part 2 is out right now, so you can watch that for free. What's not free is my album Shoot for Teams with my group The Forks, which you can find on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you consume your digital music. And you can find me right here on Multiplex hosting Multiplex Fantasy Football every Wednesday, Fandom Fight, singles, and teams every Friday, Nerdgasm every Saturday, and a new show with Jake Rangoni coming out on Thursdays that we will be announcing very, very soon. And with that, guys, this has been Nerdgasm. That has been Richard. That has been Malcolm. That has been Tim. Jim is MIA, and I have been Caleb, and this has been Nerdgasm, and we will see you all next week.